Take that, Mr. No Raise in 48 years.
This is Sports Talk with Phil Kornbluth, Chris Bergen, and Pat Daniel. Sports Talk is heard across the state on radio affiliates of the Sports Talk Media Network and is streaming live on SportsTalkSC.com, as well as Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. The South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number to call in is 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now, here are Phil, Chris, and Pat with tonight's edition of Sports Talk.
All right, good evening, everybody. Welcome back into Sports Talk Media Network. Good to be back. Thank you very much. Keep your seats, ladies and gentlemen. Normally, I say nobody says it's good to be back from vacation. I'm saying it's good to be back from vacation because you reach a point where enough already. I'm ready to go to work. You guys had a lot of fun last week, apparently, because
indeed
had a lot of stuff going on. I had, I'm sitting there talking to my dog, telling him like I'm treating my dog like he's the radio audience. I'm doing the show in front of the dog, saying, this is what I think about Texas and Oklahoma, and this is what I think about that. Da, 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 da. So, I had to get the show out of my system by putting it all on the dog's ears, and he was not appreciative of that whatsoever. So now I've got a week's worth of ideas and opinions built up inside that I have to gradually, put out there. We'll work our way back into the flow of things here as the week progresses. So Phil Kornbluth with Pat Daniel here at our Columbia studios, Sports Talk Media Network, and Chris Bergen with us from Bergie Manor in the PD. I know you enjoyed having Matt Smith along with the two guys last week. I know they did a super job, but we are back. And except for, I got a couple of days I got to miss next week. Got to go up to Boston for a close friend's family wedding. So I'm going to miss a couple of days and, here and there, missing a day or two. But by and large, we are locked in and ready to go for the upcoming football season, the high school season. Mm-hmm. Those kids are at work practicing. The college kids will be getting underway on Friday. You know why I love this time of year, Chris, more than anything else? It means people have to shut up and put up. I mean, I am so sick and tired of hype videos. I am so sick and tired of star ratings. I'm so sick and tired of tweets about look at me, hear me, see me, look how great I am. Now, let's see you go do it. Let's see you live up to the hype. Let's see you live up to the talk. Can you back it up on the field? That's what excites me about this week.
So you are not buying into the Spurrier mantra of it's talking season. We are into playing season and prove it season now.
Yeah.
That we've gotten into August and the start of preseason camps. And it is so, it is so nice to have the high schools back out on the practice field. We visited with David Shelton on Friday, and Pat and I were talking about this as well. This time last year, we weren't even sure if we'd have a season. We got through a pretty good condensed high school and college football season. Now I think we're all full go, though there are some concerns still with COVID. But for the most part, you're right, Phil. This is go season. This is prove it season. We've gotten through talking season. That was in July.
Yes, exactly right. So let's get out there and show us what you got. And of course, we're looking forward to the high school season. High school football scoreboard will be cranking up on the very first Friday night of the high school football season. So we look forward to that. And then, of course, our coverage of the Gamecocks, the Tigers, the Shants, and everybody else around the state. We'll be commencing our college football Palmetto Pigskin Tour next week, getting that planned out now. So we're just looking forward to it. There's always a little extra zip in your step, a little bit more excitement around the state when we turn that calendar over to August, and we know we've got football coming right at us. And it helps to have the NFL guys in camp, especially the Panthers over at Wofford. In fact, today, apparently, J.C. Horn had a great day.
Yes, he did.
And
it made Sam Darnold look terrible.
Evidently. Well, yeah, but Horn had a pick six and another. I think he had 2 picks in the morning practice. So it's good to have some football to sink our teeth into. And as I told you, I've got to do a few as I told you things here since I've been gone. If you don't mind, will you allow me to do as I told
Absolutely.
you?
The
Well,
floor is yours, my friend.
I told you Aaron Rodgers wasn't going anywhere. Okay. I told you that. All right. I have great sources in Green Bay, being the world's biggest Packer fan, that they allow me to have these sources. I could have told you way back when he wasn't going anywhere, and he probably won't go anywhere after next year. He's probably going to finish his career in Green Bay happy with a couple of more MVPs and a couple of more Lombardi trophies. Okay. All right. So mark that down. I told you way back when ESPN was a low down, no good operation. Now, you can believe Bob Bowlesby or you can believe ESPN. I tend to believe Bob Bowlesby and what he's saying, though he did today when he was speaking to some legislators in Texas. He kind of put the kibosh on that talk a little bit today by saying, it's not something we want to talk about in public. But I wouldn't put it past ESPN to try and pull the rug out from under the Big 12 like that, and try and aid some of their members to go somewhere else to kill off that league so it doesn't have to pay the bill to that league while building up some other leagues. That's why we're getting right back in some ways like it was in the 60s when you didn't have all these different television outlets. You just had one or two games a year. But what is the difference in that? Just the numbers, of course, are different, but ESPN is going to have such control over college football, Chris, that it's really dangerous. It's almost a monopoly, which you're not supposed to have in this country. And once they get the rights to the SEC in 24, and who knows how big the SEC will be by then, and maybe that's sort of behind all of this. Grow the SEC to be 64 teams or 32 teams or whatever. ESPN has the contract. They've got the whole ball of wax when that happens.
ESPN right now, Phil, has much more power in terms of college football than the NCAA does. And that'll tell you everything you need to know about the current state of college athletics and especially in football. And we obviously kicked this around a good bit last week. But on the flip side, if you are ESPN, I don't know that there is a rule out there. I don't know that there's any laws in terms of interstate commerce that prevent them from going to Texas and Oklahoma. And let's assume for a moment they're starting to look towards basketball season in Kansas and Kansas State and trying to manipulate them. Hey, you need to come over here to the SEC. You need to come over here to the ACC. We've got ultimate contracts. We can promote your programs a whole lot better. Hey, Oklahoma, you've got terrific softball. We need to help you promote your program in softball during the regular season. You know how we can do that? The SEC network. Oh, by the way, we own that. So I have no doubt in my mind that ESPN went out of its way to try and behind the scenes connect with Oklahoma and Texas. And in fairness, I don't know that they did anything wrong.
Well, yeah, except for it just being unscrupulous and backstabbing. And, you're supposed to be partners when you sign up with a conference. You're supposed to be partners with all the schools. How many times have I heard ADs talk about their television partners, which is code for ESPN? But, when athletic directors, because they're taking the money from ESPN and the other television networks, when they give up the scheduling obligations that they had, before all of this, schools scheduled their own games. The athletic directors scheduled their own games. You're coming to play us. We're going to play at 7 or 7:30 because that best suited our fans. But they turn all that over to the television networks, and they let the television networks now tell you when you're going to play. They've just washed their hands of that. And of course, the rationale is, well, we're getting all this money. But I mean, the backside of that is the fans get screwed in a lot of different ways because of the different kickoff times, the games in the deep South kicking off at noon when it's 105 degrees. Just that's the last thing that's come under consideration is the wherewithal of the fans. So that's just another reason to hate ESPN, besides the fact that they own every property and, you're stuck with them for life, apparently. And so those were, let's see, those were two. And then let's see, what else was the other thing I wanted to mention that had happened that I had a, oh, yeah. So, the NIL thing, And I said, look out, this thing's going to reach down into the high school levels now. You see it coming.
Mm-hmm.
And, we see the number one quarterback, number one player, I guess, in the 22 class, because he's in Texas and he can't take advantage of the NIL laws because it's not allowed for high school guys in Texas. So he's going to graduate early. Good job by him in getting his academics done. So he's in that position. Going to graduate early, go ahead and enroll at Ohio State and be there to play for Ohio State this year. Now, there is precedent for this right here in our own state, because if you go way back many, many years ago, Landon Powell skipped his senior year of high school to come to South Carolina. Did you know that? He graduated early.
Mm-hmm.
He was on an accelerated academic system. And, back then, being like the number one player in the country or one of them, his thoughts were get to college early and get that behind me and get to the pros and get to the majors, which he eventually did. But he worked it out where he skipped his senior year and signed after his junior year with South Carolina, and of course had a really good career. But that wasn't because of NIL. That was because, he wanted to get to professional baseball, college baseball and professional baseball as quickly as possible. So how many more are now going to follow that lead in that situation related to NIL at the high school level?
It's a great question, Phil, and we've seen this numerous times about kids who sort of accelerate their senior year. And I never quite understood it, because the senior year in high school is that one year you look forward to for 12. Once you start getting in and realize where your end point is going to be, you look forward to that senior year in high school. But at least the last several years, it was just so you could get into college and start playing, and then ultimately maybe go to the NBA or NFL, whatever your dreams are and aspirations are. But now, I mean, the reason you get up, especially if you're in Texas, is to try and go and get your NIL. So yeah, you're right. This has totally changed things. And Pat and I were debating something over the at the tail end of the show, and Pat brought this point up, and we didn't get a chance on Friday to debate this. But South Carolina has canceled its Fan Appreciation Day because, according to the school, it's because of COVID reasons.
Mm-hmm.
I'm wondering if Pat's point was, all right, that may be indeed the case, but how much of it as well is the fact that maybe the players are like, you know what, I'm not sure I want to sign up and be a part of this if I'm not going to be able to get reimbursed for me signing an autograph to a poster that has my image on it, and then I'm going to apply my name to it. So it's name, image, and likeness. So are we going to start seeing these Fan Appreciation Days go by the boards? And right now, COVID is an easy excuse.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that's what South Carolina has done, but it does make you start to think, all right, are we starting to see Fan Appreciation Days go out the window because the universities don't want to ask their fans to pay money to come to a Fan Appreciation Day, which should probably be free? I mean, if you're paying to be appreciated, how much are you appreciated? So I thought that was a terrific point Pat brought up late last week.
All right, going to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We'll talk about the situation with Clemson corner Fred Davis, and also the report out of the upstate by an upstate sports talk show host that Clemson and Florida State, according to his source, contacted the SEC regarding membership. We'll talk about that and your phone calls. They're lining up. We'll get to you after the break.
Founders is offering a low-rate mortgage with up to $4,000 in closing costs to full-time hospital employees, honoring your frontline efforts against COVID-19. With no PMI, no origination fee, and no limit on the loan amount, you can't go wrong. Visit founders.com/HEC and apply for your hospital employee choice mortgage today. Membership qualification required. Terms and conditions apply. Institution NMLS identifier number 410646. Founders is an equal housing lender and is federally insured by the NCUA.
It's officially summertime in South Carolina. And whether you're heading to the beach, lake, or pool, be sure to include a bag of boiled peanuts. Did you know that boiled peanuts are South Carolina's state snack? Peanuts pack a lot of protein, and they're good for your heart. Buy some today at your local grocery store or roadside stand. Brought to you by South Carolina's peanut growers. Visit aboutpeanuts.com for delicious peanut-based recipes.
Stay tuned. More Sports Talk is coming up on the Sports Talk Media Network.
We understand how important it is to have transportation you can rely on. So no matter what the road ahead brings, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
In Irmo, call me, Alex Satterfield, at 803-749-9171.
Hey folks, mortgage rates have dipped to their lowest levels in recent history, and with home values up in many areas, now may be the perfect time to refinance your home. Whether you're looking to lower your monthly payments, free up cash for home improvements, or just pay off your home faster, a quick call to the one and only Stuart Wingo of Ameris Bank could save you money. If you're looking for competitive rates and exceptional service, call Stuart Wingo. 803-319-1777. That's 803-319-1777. You will save money just like I have so many times over the years. You can also visit him, amerisbank.com/Stuart Wingo. Stuart Wingo, the man with the plan for all your mortgage needs.
Wide open for your phone calls tonight here on Sports Talk. Phone number 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Did you know that since 2002, more than $2.2 billion in lottery proceeds have been used to fund life scholarships for the state's college-bound students? Learn more about the South Carolina Education Lottery's impact at seeducationlottery.com/education wins. Playing for fun is a win for education. Get to your phone calls, talk about some of the other things that are going on. Comments from USC offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield from the media day the other day that I don't think you guys got to in full last week, so we'll get to that tonight. Clemson's announced its practice schedule for its camp. We'll talk about that coming up. USC's got a media day on Thursday. Dabo Swinney's going to talk on Friday. So much to get our hands on and heads around here as we head into a football season. We want to get to your phone calls. Make that a high priority for us here tonight on Sports Talk. Billy in Somerville, welcome, welcome, welcome. Good to have you with us.
Good to have you too, sir. How you doing?
Good, good, good.
I got a couple of questions for you. And the first question I got is kind of got me kind of aggravated for the last couple of years. Is first of all, I've been a Green Bay fan since I was a kid. My dad was a Cincinnati Lombardi fan, so growing up, if Green Bay was on TV, that was the team that I had to watch. And it kind of gripes me when people in the state go, how do you become a Green Bay fan when you're not even from the state? Well, that's the reason. My dad was a Lombardi fan, and that's who I watched. And in the last couple of years, ever since Aaron Rodgers did get in the league, I've always had something against him. I've just never really thought he was the top quarterback, like everybody says around the league, because, yeah, he's got statistics. He's got one Super Bowl, but in the last say 10 years, from this one fan to another fan, it just seems like every time they get into the playoffs and he's got a big game and it's on the line, if he throws an interception or he does a fumble midway through the third or fourth quarter, people would argue with me all the time for years, and then they see it happen. They say, you know what, you're right. It seems like the team just doesn't rally around him and quit. Have you ever noticed that, or is there a reason why?
Well, no, I haven't noticed that. I would say the Packers' biggest shortcomings since they won the Super Bowl in 2010 is that they let their defense get away from them.
Right.
The 2 years that they've won Super Bowls most recently, back when Favre won his, Rodgers won his, as great as those two were and are, and as many offensive weapons as they had and have, they had great defenses and great individual defensive players. And I think that's one of the reasons that Rodgers was so upset. I listened to his press conference last week, all 35 minutes of it, and he had in detail a list of players that the Packers let go, and many of whom would have stayed and even taken a salary cut to stay in Green Bay. And a lot of those were really good defensive players. Now, look, I know front office people have to make their decisions. There's salary cap considerations that have to be thought through and considered. But you weakened your team, you weakened your defense, and that's one thing that I think stuck with him. I mean, the offense is fine. There's nothing wrong with the Packers' offense. They got plenty of pretty toys on the offensive side. Where they have come up short in recent years, especially against the run, was on the defensive side. They've changed their defensive coordinator going into this season, and we'll see if that makes a difference. But no, I've never seen Rodgers. I mean, look, should he have kept the ball on that second down play when it looked like he could have run in for the touchdown when they were inside the 10-yard line? Instead, he tried to throw it back across the grain and threw it into the dirt. Yes, he probably should have kept the ball. And he's a good runner, and he's done that many times throughout his career, but he didn't.
Right.
And then, of course, third down, incomplete, and then fourth down, they kick the field goal. So, and they don't get the ball back. And that's the thing. Go back and look at these losses by the Packers. How many times they've been in last drive situation or overtime where the defense is on the field and they can't get the stop. Just could not get the stop.
How do you feel if he goes to another NFC championship this year and doesn't make a Super Bowl again? How will that go down? Do you think he will be back again, or do you think he might say enough's enough and go to another team like Brady?
Yeah. I mean, look, I think part of the beautiful thing about what transpired from that press conference and the following press conferences by the Packers brass is an understanding. I think the Packers brass now, they have a greater understanding of his wants and desires, and they messed up. They certainly messed up, Chris, when they drafted a quarterback and made some other moves. And, like he said in that press conference, his opinion doesn't have to be listened to, or let me rephrase that. His opinion doesn't have to be accepted and followed. He just wants it listened to. And they didn't listen. They didn't, maybe that was a difference between his situation in Green Bay and Brady's situation in New England all those years, and Joe Montana and other great quarterbacks who are the heart and soul of your team. Is maybe the front office ran some things past them before they made decisions. People like to use LeBron as an example. Like the Lakers don't do anything without running it past LeBron. No. In fact, I think he's the one that pulled off this last deal to get the Westbrook from DC. So that's what irritated Rodgers, and I think the Packers understand that, and they're going to have their eyes and ears open to him now moving forward.
I think, though, the difference in the NFL, and I think obviously Aaron Rodgers should have his opinion at least respected, much like Tom Brady probably felt like his wasn't as oftentimes as he felt it should have been up in New England. But the one difference is in the NFL, if you make a suggestion or two, that probably overall is not going to affect the entire lineage of the team. LeBron James, he pretty much runs the Lakers. And if he says you need to bring in one player, that can make all the difference in the world from them winning an NBA championship and then finishing in the semifinals of the Western Conference. So there's a huge difference in terms of the two. But I agree with you. I think Aaron Rodgers probably feels like his opinion was not respected as much as it should have been. He's earned that right. Now, whether or not the front office at Green Bay listens to him, it's another story. But they ought to at least take at least on the surface, they ought to figure out, all right, here's what he wants, and then does that fit our team?
Yeah.
Unlike LeBron James, if he says we need to bring in this guy because he's going to make us much better, he's probably right. Because you bring in one other player in the NBA and basketball, that could make all the difference in the world. Totally different in terms of the NFL.
Yeah. Real quick before the break, you just retweeted this, but there's big news out of LSU this afternoon.
There is. Go 24/7 Sports, and that's GEAUX. So it's obviously the LSU website. Quarterback Miles Brennan is out for the foreseeable future with a left arm injury. The school announcing this afternoon. The redshirt junior was competing for the starting quarterback job with sophomore Mac Johnson, but instead will have surgery on his arm tomorrow, putting his 2021 season in serious doubt. If, however, he remains healthy, he'll take the field week 1 against UCLA, but I can't imagine that's going to happen. And considering where LSU is trying to not only improve defensively, but they obviously expect their offense is going to be pretty darn good. Brennan suffered a season-ending injury, but was one of the SEC's top passers when he went out last year at Missouri. He threw for over 1,100 yards, 11 touchdowns, and 3 picks. This is huge news out of the SEC West. As if Alabama needed it to be any easier for them.
Yeah.
I feel they may have gotten a little bit easier road.
All those starters coming back on the LSU football team, offense and defense. And let's face it, man, Brennan was on fire last year before he got hurt. And, boy, that'd be a huge blow. I mean, Johnson's a very talented guy, but he is young, and he had his struggles last year. All right, we'll pick up on more of your phone calls after the break. Plus, talk about Clemson cornerback Fred Davis and report that Clemson and Florida State reached out to the SEC. Coming up.
On Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. The cold front is making its way through our state overnight. We'll dip to 73 as the low with mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, only 78 as a high temp to go with a 70% chance of likely showers and storms. Wednesday is similar with rain likely and a high of just 79. Highs in the 80s the rest of the week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
I'm the son of a third-generation farmer.
One of country music's hottest acts, Craig Morgan, is coming to the capital city and the Big Red Barn's Fall Jam. Sunday at Segra Park, October 9th. Craig Morgan, brought to you by Sonic Drive-In and Michelob Ultra. Tickets on sale now at the Big Red Barn Retreat.org or at the ballpark box office.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The White House says that Centers for Disease Control and Prevention was unable to find legal authority for a new targeted eviction moratorium. It asks that states and local governments put in policies to keep renters in their homes. Mass evictions could potentially worsen the recent spread of the COVID-19 Delta variant. Roughly 1.4 million households told the Census Bureau they could very likely be evicted from their rentals in the next 2 months. But the Biden administration says it is unable to take action. But it also notes that state-level efforts to stop evictions would spare a third of the country from evictions over the next month. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow was down by 97 points. The Nasdaq rose 8, the S&P declined 8, oil down 269 to 71.26 a barrel. More details at srnnews.com.
So your home is your castle. I work hard all day. My reward is time at my home with my family, living comfortably. I don't want to worry for a moment about bugs and pests. I've had Palmetto Exterminators taking care of my home for 19 years. Now, that's a long time without worrying about pest control or infestation or termites, and that's because Palmetto Exterminators takes care of it all. Might not matter to some people, but you know what it does to me? They're family-owned. They've been doing this the right way for over 60 years. The staff is courteous. They're clean. They're totally professional. And you know, it's termite season. Palmetto Exterminators offers a free inspection. They'll customize the program to fit your needs and your family's budget. They offer a lifetime warranty with their termite agreement. Now, I speak from experience. Like I said, 19 years with the same company. I can't give a more glowing recommendation than the one I proudly give to Palmetto Exterminators. Online, palmettoexterminators.net, or call my guy, Ron Byers, 254-5833. That's 254-5833, Palmetto Exterminators.
Getting involved in your community is easier than you think. If you can click, you can help. If you can share a status, you can lend a hand. If you can log on, you can give back. Because when you volunteer virtually with AARP, you can help your community without even leaving home. AARP has all kinds of opportunities to get you started and will provide the support you need to make it easy and fun. Your community needs volunteers like you. Get involved at aarp.org/volunteer here.
Hey, I'm State Representative Chris Wooten.
And I'm State Representative Micah Cassidy.
Join us on Wednesday mornings at 9 a.m. on The Rep.
We'll talk about everything that's happening in the State House and give you an insider's perspective.
All from the General Assembly. So join us at 9 a.m. on The Point, 100.7 FM or 1470 a.m.
All South Carolinians are now eligible for the COVID-19
Dad,
vaccines.
you're going to get the COVID-19 vaccine, right?
Nah, I don't think so.
Why not?
I think the vaccines were made too fast. Who knows what they put in that stuff?
Dr. Johnson, and he told me the vaccines are safe and effective.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, Dad. I need you to stay healthy. So can we look into the vaccines more together?
Sure. Anything for you, sweetheart.
Visit scdhack.gov/vaxlocator to find a vaccine location near you.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
Every Friday morning at 9 a.m. on The Point, join me, Chad Jordan, and my co-host Larry Jordan for the Palmetto Real Estate Pros. We'll help you out whether you're looking to buy, sell, or just learn all things real estate every Friday right here at 100.7 The Point.
Off and running this week on a Monday night edition of Sports Talk. So glad you're with us wherever you are dialed in around the state of South Carolina on one of our 28 radio signals out there, South Carolina's largest and only statewide sports talk show. And we appreciate you being with us. Should you lose us over the airways, of course, you can find us as we stream on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Sign up for the YouTube channel. It's still free. We don't charge for that, do we, Pat? I don't think we've come up with a way to charge.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. It's
Always
still free. Twitter's free. Everything we do is free. We do it for you. We don't do it for us, Chris. I mean, we're not doing this for our own, our own bank accounts or anything like that. We do it for the people. We're doing it for the people.
And that's how radio should be. It's the only really free medium that there is out there, because newspapers, they can sell advertising, but you also have to buy a subscription. TV, obviously, you have to get cable or streaming service. Radio still is the only free medium out there, and we're trying to keep it that way.
Of course, we have great sponsors, and we want you to support our sponsors. By supporting our sponsors, you support them, they support us, and we give it to you. It's a very nice, complete circle that we have there. So support the great sponsors here on Sports Talk, and we'll keep giving you good stuff for free. Our phone number, 888-898-2525. Let's go to Hank in Columbia. He's been waiting, and we're going to dive into a couple of topics related to Clemson. Also touch on the Clemson practice schedule coming up. Hank, welcome into Sports Talk. Good to have you with us.
I'm doing fine, Corn. How's everything?
Good, good, good.
Hey, Corn, when you were speaking earlier about Landon Powell, you remember Jake Bentley skipped his senior year in high school to come to Carolina early.
You're correct. That's another one.
You remember that?
Yep.
And
you're
then
exactly right.
The girl, Jayla Jameson from Airport, that's the track star that they signed, she's skipping her senior year of high school to come to Carolina, and that was before the name image like the stuff was passed. So it's just that a number of these kids just academically are in a lot better shape at the end of their junior year.
My question is, and you know what, everybody can do what they want to do, but my goodness, what is the rush in your life? Because you're going to look back one day, maybe, I don't know, I think I would, and go, man, I sure would have loved another year of high school, or I loved another year of college, because, of course, I'm looking at it from a different place. I'm not in a position through my athletic skills to go make millions of dollars. I get that, and I was never in a position academically to skip a year of high school and get out early. I was very lucky to get out when I did. But man, I don't know I've never gotten what the rush is. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, Corn, what's going on with a lot of these kids nowadays, because if you think about your children and our children, by the time they get to the seniors now, even if they're going their senior year, they're taking like 1 or 2 classes and then they're out of school by 11 and they're going to work.
This is true. Like, again, what's the rush? Enjoy your life while you're young. But anyway, what else you got for me, Hank?
No, I just want to say that and want to congratulate Jasmine Camacho Quinn from Fort Dorchester on that gold medal last night.
Pretty awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you. Appreciate the phone call. Good hearing from you. 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number. Hank drops off, so that means lines have now opened up, Pat.
Yeah, just real quick, you keep asking the question, what's the rush? It's worth pointing out, will this become a trend? Maybe. We don't know. But we are still living in COVID times where we're seeing right now spikes all across the country. We're seeing new mask mandates implemented. We're seeing fan-player relation type events being canceled across the country. There's no guarantee these seniors in high school are going to get to live their normal senior in high school. Like last year, all the poor men and women or boys and girls across the country, they didn't get to experience that euphoria of a senior year because they had COVID to deal with.
Mm-hmm.
They might not have even had in-person classes. So for this young man who's deciding to leave early to go to Ohio State, Quinn Ewers, there's no guarantee he's going to have a full football season this year in Texas. So why not go ahead and go to Ohio State and make some money from his name, image, and likeness and be trained by the Ohio State staff? And also that quarterback room, they have 5-star CJ Stroud, class of 2020, 4-star Jack Miller, 5-star Kyle McCord, and now himself. That's a lot of folks to practice with, a lot better than in high school.
Keep an eye on the transfer portal.
And Phil, keep in mind, Quinn Ewers is a really unique opportunity and a really unique case, because my guess is the Texas legislature is going to drop that rule where you can't profit on your name, image, and likeness all the way down to high school. It's going to be much like our state and many states across the country. In 2 or 3 years, this is not going to be an issue anymore. Quinn Ewers is just, he's so well known at the high school level, and he's so popular in terms of his social media that he brings a great presence to him. But he is a 1 in a million opportunity here, and I don't think it's going to last much longer, because I think the state of Texas and everybody else who has sort of been, depending on what side of the coin you're on, antiquated laws with regards to name, image, and likeness, even going down to the high school level, those will come off the books.
Well, related to that too, Chris, sorry to jump in there, Phil. News out of Georgia today that the largest network TV high school football schedule in the country for 2021 will be happening in the state of Georgia. They have now signed an agreement where 31 high school games across the state will be televised, be on live television. So talk about exposure. State of Georgia just went elite for these high school athletes. So now these guys playing high school football in Georgia will be able to capitalize off their name, image, and likeness. Ewers would not have been able to do the same in Texas.
All right, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number here on Sports Talk. Lines are open if you want to join us, get you on the air. We take your phone calls. Hear a little bit from Marcus Satterfield, South Carolina offensive coordinator, and then more from the Gamecocks later in the week. Media Day on Thursday. That's for Beamer, assistant coaches, and players. Clemson, Dabo Sweeney's going to meet with the media Friday before they head out on the practice field. So a couple of things to note. Number one thing Beamer is doing at South Carolina is making his coordinators available throughout the season. Satterfield and White will have regular weekly press conferences. Now, I mean, Muschamp never let you talk to the USC assistants once the season started. And Spurrier would allow assistant coach to be interviewed from time to time after games. In particular, he would allow it.
Only if they screwed up, though, right?
Well, usually. But if it was like a group setting, you were doing group interviews, he would allow that. You could have coordinators come into the interview room and be interviewed. Muschamp never. And Beamer is like really liberal with those coordinators as far as they're going to have their own weekly press conference session. And then up at Clemson, as I mentioned, Sweeney will have his press conference on Friday. They will not be streaming, at least in the preseason. Remember last year, because of COVID, they would stream those media sessions on Zoom. They'd Zoom them, and we could carry those live back then. That won't be the case this year, at least in the camp, because there's just not the need because of the way they're handling things with COVID. I mean, we're going to have live reporters now at all these media sessions in person. You'll have to wear a mask, and I think they want you to be vaccinated if at all possible. But they are going to let the media in for these things, so that's good. But they won't stream it live. It won't be Zoom, but they will have it available soon thereafter, and we can grab it that way if we're not there in person, Chris.
And we'll also get to hear from Jamie Chadwell tomorrow, because Coastal's got its media day tomorrow down in Conway.
Super.
So everybody getting rolling this week. So we'll get through that as you pointed out earlier, Phil, that talking season into show me season.
All right, now the poll question of the week. I don't know. People must think it's kind of a weak one and has not had a huge response to this point. College football is trending towards a pro football model. Is that fair to say? Maybe I'm not fair to say that. Maybe that's just my feeling. Hey, I write the question. I'll say what I want to. College football is trending towards a pro football model with player movement and players being paid beyond a scholarship. We can agree with that, right?
Sure.
Would you still support your team if college football becomes a pro league in the future, which I think is coming down the road? I didn't say it'd be next year or 5 years, but maybe 10, 15 years from now. Who knows? 146 votes, 62.3% say yes, still support, and 32.7% say no. That's a pretty, we haven't had a lot of votes, 146, but 37.7% no is a pretty significant number, Chris.
And I think the 62% are just lying to themselves, Phil, because I think a lot of folks love college athletics because of what it currently is. If it turns into the NFL or the NBA or Major League Baseball, I don't think people will be attracted to it anywhere close. I don't care if they have South Carolina written across the chest or Clemson or Wofford or whatever the case may be. I think those people are hoping that we don't get to that point. I think the ones who voted yes are hoping you're wrong with the way you phrase the question. I don't think you are. And I think those folks are just lying to themselves because I don't.
Of the topics from Clemson, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery, lucky number. Love to hear from some Clemson people about this. So the situation with Fred Davis II, Clemson sophomore cornerback, and he was in this horrendous traffic accident that he caused, allegedly. I guess we still have to say allegedly because this is a legal case. So allegedly he caused it, but everybody knows he did because he was there. I mean, he was the driver of the car. Back on July 21st. And then yesterday and today, Clemson PD released a bunch of information about this accident. So basically, he was going down US 123 around South Carolina 93, if you know that area up at Clemson. And he was going 115 miles an hour in a black Dodge Charger. The speed limit was 55. And he was doing 115. And as he was approaching this postal carrier's truck, a little small, we've all seen them, the mailman's truck, he hit the brakes, skidded a couple of 100 feet, speed declined to 70 miles an hour, but he crashed into the mail carrier's truck, causing severe injuries to the female driver. He himself suffered a leg injury and had to be transmitted by EMS to the hospital. And he was turned himself in yesterday, charged with reckless driving. And at this point, that's all it is. But, you have a victim here in serious condition. And, you're hoping for the best. But, I mean, if this thing goes the other direction and this person passes away, you're looking at a much more serious situation. And so, Clemson puts out a statement saying he remains with the football team. And this will be handled internally with internal discipline. And so here we are sitting here as judge and jury, I guess, as Sports Talk host and fans across South Carolina. And my first thought was, what in the world are you doing? Driving 115 miles an hour on that stretch of road. I know that stretch of road well. Pat, you know that stretch of road well. I don't know if you know it that well, Chris, because you're not up at Clemson as much as we've been. But we all know that stretch of road well. It's, it's heavily traveled, students and retired people going to the mountains and fans coming through, and you're doing 115 miles an hour. What are you thinking, number one? And then number two, I mean, he's very lucky to be alive.
Yes,
and he's very lucky he hasn't killed somebody yet. So what do you do if you're Dabo Swinney in this case? This is, yes, right now it's reckless driving. It's a car accident, but it appears to be something a lot deeper than that. Now, he had a problem with Darion Kendrick. And of course, it was referred to Kendrick being in his doghouse for a variety of reasons that he would never allude to. And they sat him down for some games, but they played him in some games. And he ended up transferring. I mean, this is, is this a case where he sits out the Charlotte game, after playing in the Georgia game? You sit him out of the Georgia game, you kick him off the team. I mean, this could be a real tragedy if that lady doesn't hang on. And it's near tragic as it is already. Because not only were those two involved, and then you had 2 other people wreck as a result of that accident. So you actually had 4 vehicles involved in the wreck, 4 people involved. The other 2 were not hurt. So it could have been a lot worse. What do you do if you're Clemson?
I think obviously, excuse me, obviously disciplinary action is coming, but I don't want to sound flippant about this. So please let me make sure that's understood right off the bat. Going 115 miles, there are no roads in our state that you should be going 115 miles per hour, point blank. And the only ones where you could even get away with that are the interstates, not the 4-lane highways.
I would say the only stretch of pavement in South Carolina you should go 115 miles an hour is Darlington.
Darlington?
Yeah. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You were making a serious comment, and I tried to be funny.
No, and I totally get that. You cannot. I don't think if you're Clemson, I don't think you kick him off the team because of this. Because if he had not injured anybody and was just pulled over for going 115 miles an hour on the interstate, like I pointed out, yeah, that's 60 miles per hour over the posted speed limit. He's obviously going to have to deal with that on his own, and he's going to have to deal with this anyway. Because my guess is the postal employee and the other folks involved in the accident, they're going to ultimately bring him up and probably charge or at least sue him in civil court and try and get reimbursed for their injuries, and they certainly should. I don't know that Clemson should pile on. Now, that being said, if worst case scenario, as you pointed out, someone passes away from this accident, then he's going to get leveled with a whole different set of charges, and then the legal system is going to take care of Fred Davis, and that probably will also take care of him being a part of the Clemson football program. I don't think you kick him off right now. You've got to let the legal process play its way out and see what ultimately happens with this. But yeah, you've got to talk with him and educate him that there's no scenario where that makes perfect sense for you to be going that fast in a car, especially what was this, 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning. This was right before Clemson left for media days up in Charlotte. We actually talked, this was before, if I'm not mistaken, this was Tuesday of last week, Phil, when we were up there for 2 weeks ago, when we were up there for the Clemson media day and the media Olympics that took place on campus. It happened that same day.
Was there any hint of a problem with a Clemson player
No.
when y'all were up there?
There was no indication whatsoever that this had happened. And my guess is, I'm not even sure Dabo Swinney and his coaching staff, and if they had, they played obviously close to the vest. But they gave us no indication that this was actually the case.
Yeah.
I don't know that you kick him to the side, but obviously this young man, my bigger concern is, if normally when speed is involved, there are other things that are also involved, especially to that degree.
Yep.
And my concern is that we may find out on down the road that he was affected by alcohol, who knows what.
Well, there's been no mention in the police reports that they've put out of any alcohol or drugs involved, but their investigation is continuing. All right, we've got to hit a break here on Sports Talk. We're back in a moment.
The future of golf is waiting for you at the Players Club. Rain, shine, or after dark, you can enjoy the game of golf anytime at Columbia's Indoor Country Club. The Players Club delivers the most realistic golf experience and offers more than 90 championship courses. Play or practice with the same state-of-the-art full-swing simulators used by Tiger Woods and Jordan Spieth. Visit MainCourseSC.com to book a bay and become a player today at the Players Club, part of the Main Course, 1626 Main Street in Columbia.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. Major Downer, if there's one thing baseball fans love as much as their teams, it's being on the water.
That's right, Phil. DNR wants to remind boaters to file a float plan before you go on the water this summer. Let family or friends know where you're going and when you plan to return. Be specific and always wear your life jacket. It just might save your life. Take a boater education course and have a great summer.
No air balls, no bricks, nothing but net with Founders Federal Credit Union. Our full-service line of financial products gives you all the tools you need for financial success. And you'll love being with us as much as we love serving you. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or one of our more than 30 locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax with Founders. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
There was just a lack of Black women, business owners, entrepreneurs, creatives. Growing up, I didn't see that. I figured out that I wanted to be a photographer for women of color. I found my niche and I'm sticking to it.
Each year, the South Carolina Education Lottery raises millions of dollars for scholarships and grants that help students prepare for their dream career, just like Kristen. Your passion is our purpose.
Hey, we're back on Sports Talk. I had the pleasure, the real, sincere pleasure of seeing our man, Jimmy Smith, while I was down along the Grand Strand last week. And I got to tell you, he is in fuego, on fire, on fire. And do not put him out. He was telling me, man, they're just selling. If you're looking for a property down at the beach, we talk about, renting things, but, Jimmy will sell you a house or a condo or dirt, whatever you want. And he said it's really, really a hot market along the beach. And he and his staff, they're doing a great job moving properties. So maybe you've got something you want to sell or maybe you want to buy. Jimmy Smith at James Smith Realty, 843-237-4246, Paulie's Vacation Rentals.com, Paulie's Vacation Rentals.com. And of course, there's still time left this summer. Or maybe you're looking into the fall and you want to spend a weekend watching football on some great televisions, but seeing the Atlantic Ocean outside your window. Isn't that great? We can't do that, Chris, because we're always somewhere at a football game. But
that would be nice.
You can, Mr. Relaxed man and woman out there. So give Jimmy a call, 843-237-4246, or visit Paulie's Vacation Rentals.com. I want to mention real quick, too, when I was down at the beach a few weeks ago, got a chance to play a really nice golf course. It's in North Carolina. I want to give a shout out to the course and the ownership there, Sandpiper Bay. You ever heard of it? Sandpiper Bay. It's across the border, just a little bit above Calabash. Go to Calabash and have a great meal, Calabash-style seafood, and then going up a few more miles to, I think it's in, is that Sunrise, North Carolina? Right there above Calabash. Sandpiper Bay, 27 holes, a course that's in fabulous shape, beautiful greens, plush fairways. Had a really, really good time playing there. I've played there a few times. It's a very challenging course, but it's a well-kept course. You'll enjoy playing it. Put that on your list, you golfers. Sandpiper Bay, up above Calabash, 27 fabulous, fabulous holes. All right, we'll talk about the report of Clemson and Florida State reaching out to the SEC in just a little bit. Want to get back to your phone calls, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Anthony up in Rock Hill, good to have you with us tonight. How are you, sir? Hello, Anthony. Are you with us, sir?
Yes. Can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I appreciate you taking my call this evening. I'm hoping everybody's going to be all right from that accident with the young man from Clemson. That's the first I've actually heard of it. And to dovetail off that conversation, and I was just listening to it while I was in the car. I had to step out, so I don't know if you've covered this or not. But what's going to be interesting from that is when the insurance companies and also the rental agreement and or the ownership of the vehicle starts coming out. I'm kind of curious as to where the young man got the vehicle, who's insuring it, because once they get involved, things are going to get a little bit more dicey.
Well, the police report did say the license tag was a temporary tag on the car. They didn't put the entire tag on there, but the officer, they etched that out in the report, but it had apparently it was an Alabama license plate. It was AL, and then it was marked out. It was redacted. So I'm assuming the AL meant Alabama plate. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. I mean, that's a good question. Was it a rental car? Was it a friend's car? Did somebody loan it to him? Did he buy it in Alabama and had an Alabama license plate to it? I mean, those are all good questions that Dabo Swinney's going to have to answer on Friday if anybody up there will ask the questions.
Yeah, it'll be very interesting to see how things progress. And obviously, the number one concern is the young lady who works for the Postal Department. A lot of those people go unnoticed. Unfortunately, they do a lot of good service for us. especially, during the holiday season. So, we hope and pray that she's going to be all right.
Absolutely. We have got to go to the top of the hour break with Anthony. Thank you so much for your call up in Rock Hill. Good hearing from you. We'll continue with calls after the top of the hour break. Don't go away.
By the way, before we do what's supposed to happen here, thank you for pushing the button. I thank you. Programming thanks you. America thanks you.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters. A U.S. senator is hit by a breakthrough coronavirus infection.
South Carolina Republican Senator Lindsey Graham has been diagnosed with the coronavirus. Graham, who is fully vaccinated, says he started having flu-like symptoms Saturday night and went to the doctor Monday morning. Graham will quarantine for 10 days. In a statement, he adds that he's very glad to have been vaccinated because without that, his symptoms would have been far worse. Graham's spokesman says he and other senators attended a weekend event hosted by West Virginia Senator Joe Manchin on his houseboat. Manchin's spokesman says he's fully vaccinated and following the CDC guidelines for those exposed to a COVID-positive individual. Those guidelines include wearing masks and getting tested within 5 days. Tim McGuire, Washington.
After much delay, senators have unveiled their $1 trillion bipartisan infrastructure bill. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer says he hopes the Senate starts working quickly on potential changes to the infrastructure package.
At the moment, we need consent from our Republican colleagues to start the amendment process, and we await their answer. I hope we can use our time in the Senate efficiently. Let's start voting on amendments. The longer it takes to finish the bill, the longer we'll be here.
One of the Republican negotiators, Senator Rob Portman, says the final product will be a bill that benefits Americans.
The substitute amendment is going to be offered, and it's going to keep to that commitment. $555 billion, no new taxes, core infrastructure only, and it's great for the American people.
The Biden administration is expanding efforts to help Afghan citizens flee increasing Taliban violence as the U.S. military pullout looms at the end of the month. The State Department says it's widening the scope of Afghans eligible for refugee status in the United States. On Wall Street, a mixed day as the Dow is down by 97 points. The NASDAQ rose 8. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Mounds and mounds of fur. Our hairballs have hairballs.
Marquette Mama, she's 10 years old. She has dandruff and an oily coat.
I have 2 cats, Zippy and Daisy. Daisy sheds like crazy.
If you love your pets as much as I do, you want to do what's best for them to live long, healthy, happy lives.
DINOVITE.com. I just tried this wonderful Catalicious Dynovite for cats, and my cat has been on it for 2 weeks. She is not scratching anymore. She's not chewing anymore. It is just the best.
I was thrilled when I heard Dynovite for cats was coming out because I'd seen the changes in my dog. To introduce my cats to Dynovite, I took the advice from Dynovite and put their food on top of just a scoop in the bowl, just to get them used to it, because I know if I even switch one little thing, they put their nose up to it. There was not one problem.
Dynovite for life.
You won't believe how happy your cat will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Millions of people in the United States could be getting a piece of a major settlement against the online giant Zoom. We hear more from correspondent Bill Alexander reporting.
Zoom has agreed to pay $85 million to settle a lawsuit alleging allegations its video conferencing services weak privacy controls, opened too many peepholes into its users' personal information, and made it too easy to disrupt their meetings during the early stages of the pandemic. The proposed deal, disclosed in federal court documents filed Saturday, still requires a judge's approval. The payment amounts are expected to average $34 or $35 for those who subscribe to Zoom's paid version, and $11 or $12 for the overwhelming majority who used the free version. In a prepared statement, the company said that it did act quickly to tighten security. I'm Bill Alexander in Washington.
News and analysis at townhall.com. I'm Keith Peters in Washington.
Are you worn out from wall-to-wall political talk? Instead of hearing more about the stuff in Washington that's mostly out of your control, I'll give you the tools to actually take control of your money and your life. Dave Ramsey here. Join me right here on The Point. I'm live and taking your calls weekdays at 2 p.m. I'll teach you how to get on a written plan that actually works, get out of debt, and build wealth. Weekdays at 2 p.m. The Dave Ramsey Show at 100.7 The Point.
WQXL Columbia, W264DF.
Grills, outdoor kitchens, fireplaces. Summer sizzle starts with Bart. This is 107 The Point. Ooh, you shouldn't have pressed that button. Oh. Now you get this.
Welcome back to Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network. You can reach the guys with the South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number, 888-898-2525. That's 888-898-2525. Now back to Phil, Chris, and Pat with the second hour of Sports Talk on the Sports Talk Media Network.
All right, welcome back, everybody. Good to have you with us here on Sports Talk on this Monday night. Good to be back in the saddle here with the guys, Chris Bergen and Pat Daniel. Phil Kornblut here, 888-898-2525, South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. Back to your phone calls in just a moment. Appreciate those of you who have been calling in. Let me go over a few other stories of the day that we want to talk about. South Carolina State football players report to camp on Thursday. So looking forward to seeing what Buddy Pugh's got. They're picked to win the MEAC, if I'm correct. Clemson released its camp schedule this afternoon. Tigers begin practice Friday, 4:30. Dabo Swinney meets with the media prior to. And the Tigers will scrimmage in Death Valley August 14th and August 19th. Bob Bowlesby was asked about his cease and desist letter to ESPN at today's Texas Senate hearing. Quote, "We have agreed to not escalate this publicly. It's in neither party's best interest to do so," end quote. So he's not he's not backpedaling. He's just saying he's not going to talk publicly about it. Frank Martin's trip to Spain to coach that team and his son playing on that team, that's been canceled because of COVID concerns. What's it called? USA East Coast Basketball overseas trip. That's been canceled. Braves are 8-9 since the All-Star break, and the Braves, they have won a game, lost a game, won a game, lost a game. In other words, they have not had consecutive wins or losses in that 17-game span, and that's a Major League Baseball record, according to Dave O'Brien. The streak officially started with a win in Game 2 after the break, and since they lost the last game before the break and the first game after the break.
Phil, I don't doubt Dave's stats, and I saw that this afternoon myself, and I chuckled at it. But who keeps up with that? That means somebody.
Sports Bureau.
Somebody went through every single schedule of every Major League Baseball team in every year going back to the 1800s. And figured out that no team had gone back to, win, loss over a 17-game stretch.
Yeah.
It's remarkable.
People got times on their hands. The transfer portal officially turned over yesterday for another cycle. Chris Hummer, who is national college football writer and transfer portal for 24/7 Sports, a Texas native, by the way, it says. So 2020, 2021, 2,654 in the transfer portal.
Wow.
This is football alone. The previous year, 1,695. The year before that, 1,720. Furman tight end Ryan Miller, Citadel linebacker Willie Eubanks, named to the first team of the Stats Perform FCS preseason All-America team. Wofford fullback Nathan Walker, named to the second team. Furman running back Devin Wynn, Charleston Southern defensive lineman Chandre Mims. They are on the third team. Our poll question last week had a lot of response, 615 votes. It was about, with Texas and Oklahoma joining the SEC, what do you, as a Gamecock fan, think about the football program as far as what you should do, if anything? And 73.7% of Gamecock fans, they put their foot down and said, we're not going anywhere. We're here. We're going to build. We're going to win. Bravo.
I agree.
16.1% say jump to the ACC ASAP. And maybe you can take Clemson's place. And 10.2% say sit tight and take your lumps. In other words, stay in the league, get beat. There you go. Before we get back to your phone calls, 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery lucky number. So today, Mark Ryan, who's an upstate sports talk show host and also has been a member of the Clemson broadcast team. I guess he still is. I don't know what their team looks like for this year, but he has been a member of their broadcast team. And he tweeted out this afternoon, quote, per a reliable source, Clemson plus Florida State have reached out to the SEC about joining the conference. He continued in his tweet, the SEC is concerned that streaming numbers for Clemson plus Florida State don't bring what Alabama plus Texas do. He continued, Notre Dame is the only, quote, free agent, quote, left that would, quote, add to the pot, end quote. So that's from Mark Ryan in the upstate. You can forget about Notre Dame. They're not going to join a conference. No. I mean, that's just not going to happen. Why do people keep putting Notre Dame in there? They're not going to join a conference. They've made it clear. The way with their current television and streaming situation, they don't have to do that. And they're not. Now, so that's what Mark Ryan reported. And I mean, people jumped on him left and right. Eric McClain, the former Clemson standout lineman who works for the ACC network, he tweeted from Clemson via Clemson, this is not true. And then I really loved what Ben Milstead, who runs the Roar, the competition station to Ryan's station, the upstate. And he really blitzed the kid. He wrote, Mark Ryan is not a credible source any more than Susie Q from chemistry class is.
Ouch.
He wrote, now then he retweeted McClain's tweet, and he wrote as part of the reply, this, the McClain tweet, is a credible tweet. Mark Ryan from the translator station on the 2 blocks in Greenville is not.
Whoa.
Just a desperate, quote, look at me, quote, attempt for attention. So pile on up there, boys, pile on. But you know what? I don't know. I give the man his benefit of the doubt. I've only spoken to him a couple of times. Seems like a nice enough guy. He's got Clemson connections. He works for the Clemson radio network, or did. I guess he still does. You would think he'd have some contacts. And he says he's got a source, and he's putting it out there, and he's willing to put his name on it. That's the thing. He's not hiding from it. He's willing to put his name on it. And, you know, of course, if you go to any Clemson people, they're going to deny it. And I don't know what ACC people would say, but, you know, who knew that Texas and Oklahoma were coming to the SEC?
Nobody.
Yeah, well, somebody did. They just didn't put it out there. And the right people weren't leaking the information. So, you know, people are quick to jump on the messenger here and try to blow him up because you don't like him or because he's competition or you doubt his information. But, you know, it's a reliable source, he says. And who knows, it might be true. I'm not saying one way or the other, except that logic tells me when it comes to Clemson, Chris, this is just logic. Logic tells me, why in the hell would Clemson want to join the SEC? Because A, they've already got, I mean, they walk on rose petals all the way to the playoffs for the most part. Okay, they're going to have a couple of thorns to step on this year, Georgia. But who else? They're not playing Miami. They're not playing North Carolina. So, you know, they got a pretty easy road to hoe. Even if they lose to Georgia, they got plenty of time to make it back up and get in the playoffs. So why would you even think about messing with that formula for getting to the postseason? The way the postseason is arranged right now, it's perfect for what Clemson has, as long as the ACC stays viable and the ACC champion is going to get a spot in the playoffs, which right now they will. Number two, people are saying, well, what about the money? The SEC is making all this money. The teams in the SEC are making all this much more money than Clemson. The money hasn't hurt Clemson one bit. Has it stopped them from spending? Has it stopped them from building? Has it stopped them from winning? Clemson's not hurting from money. People are saying, well, you know, even like South Carolina is getting more money than Clemson. That's a competitive disadvantage for Clemson. Oh, really? I don't see it on the field. I don't see it in the facilities. I don't see it in any part of their operation. Would they like more money? Would they be happy to take more money? I'm sure they would. But is it worth it to Clemson to give up the ride in the Princess carriage that they have now for the extra 20-something million dollars? But now you got to go play Alabama, Auburn, LSU, Florida, Georgia, Texas A&M, Texas, Oklahoma, a combination of the above every year. So what would you rather have? Maybe a little less dough, but a lot more cush.
Well, let me start with Mark Ryan's comments. And this is not the first time we've heard this, Phil. We had found a report from a blogger right before you went on vacation, said exactly the same thing. And the way Mark Ryan phrased this, it's very possible he's correct. Clemson and Florida State have reached out to the SEC. What's the harm if you're Dan Radakovich and the AD and administration of Florida State at least lobbing a phone call to the SEC front office and Greg Sankey and saying, hey, where are your plans 5-10 years down the road? Would you be interested in adding 2 more schools, 4 more schools, 8 more schools? It's prudent, in my opinion, if you're Clemson, to at least make that phone call just to find out the landscape of college athletics moving forward. Secondly, you're 100% correct. Clemson, find me a sport that if Clemson goes into the SEC, it's better for them. You can't find one.
Rowing?
Because basketball, maybe basketball, men's basketball, it would be a stretch. But I think maybe men's rowing, that's an interesting one. But maybe men's basketball. But aside from that, football gets extremely more difficult. Women's basketball, as tough as it's been a struggle for them now, you're going to put them in the SEC where they have to face South Carolina on a consistent basis all the time and have to compete with them. Not that they don't play them now, but you have to compete with them for a conference title.
Yeah.
You're not beating Dawn Staley's team as long as she's there. Baseball is going to be infinitely more difficult, and you just run down the list. Men's soccer, where Clemson has dominated in the ACC, the SEC doesn't even sponsor men's soccer. So I can't find a sport with the lone exception, perhaps, of men's basketball, where if Clemson made the jump as an entire athletic department, where it would behoove them, where they can't get that same kind of competition and be maybe even a little better in the ACC. So I agree with you. Clemson probably outside, and I don't know that the money is the ultimate reason, assuming the ACC stays the way it is. And I don't know that the ACC is going to sit pat. They may be already talking with teams in the Big 12 about, hey, as that league starts to implode, don't you want to come play here? West Virginia, where are you going to be in 2 years? So I think the ACC needs Clemson and Florida State to stay in just to stay viable.
Yeah. The only way I would see Clemson joining the SEC is if they had no other choice, because the SEC was expanding to be the football league. I mean, that's where you had to be. And then, okay, we're joining the SEC because you know what? That's now the league for football in major college football, and that's where we have to be. As long as that doesn't happen and the SEC doesn't gobble up everybody else to form this one massive league, which some people have thrown out there as a possibility, then Clemson will stay put in the ACC and be the king there for a long, long time. Let's go to Bruce in Columbia. We've got recruiting coming up. We got Marcus Satterfield comments coming up. Bruce, welcome into Sports Talk. How are you?
Hey, Phil, I appreciate you taking my call tonight. And,
yes, sir.
I just want to tell you, the guys were great. You can leave anytime you want to, man. They got your back.
Thank you, sir.
Good to know. Good to know.
Anything galore. Anyway, I hate what happened with the kid, the football player, and the lady, and all the other people that had gotten injured. That is just, it's off the chart. And I don't know why anybody would even think about in their right mind going that fast down the highway. Now, you knew that I think I told you before, I was on the photography staff at Clemson University back in '85. And I got fired after 3 years of changing the culture in the photography staff, and they did not replace the people that they had moved out of the photography staff. One guy retired. He was asleep half the time anyway, but he was at the age that he was going to get his retirement benefit. And so never got instructions on what my job was. I just kind of played it by ear, and we did good. We started getting more people to use the photography staff, to hire other people from abroad to come and do their photography work. Anyway, long story short, I had to go through the grievance process to get my job back, and I did get my job back. But in the midst of this, and this is where I'm getting at, I'm not surprised that they didn't tell anybody what was going on at Media Day or the little festival thing they had up there. And this is how Clemson operates. And they've been doing this for a long time. Now, in the midst of me getting fired, and I was having to come up with all of this information to get my job back, going through the grievance process and going to Columbia and facing the committee, I did get my job back. But in the meantime, I was handed a note by a fellow employee, and the note was a copy of the sleeve that the paychecks come in,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a name nobody knew in that division who it was. Well, we found out who it was. This is when Coach Ellis had come to Clemson to be the basketball coach. And he wanted more assistant coaches than they would allow. And they told him he couldn't have another assistant coach. Well, that was the guy. And he was in my pool getting paid with one of my people that I could not get anybody to come in because they said, we got a hiring freeze. We can't hire nobody else. Well, I'm just giving you this information that Coach Ellis and the personnel director came and used one of my slots and paid the assistant coach under the table. I got my job back. I didn't bring this up in anything until now, Phil. They do, I'm telling you what, the employees up there, they're great employees, but they're scared for their job up there. And when I got my job back, I was the first person in the history of Clemson University that went through the grievance process because I wanted to see it work. And I got my job back, man, they couldn't believe it. They were so happy that it worked for somebody, here, because people would not go through the process because it's so long and, but I was determined. I had no fault, to get this firing. And I wanted to see it work. And I went through the process and got my job back. But anyway, what I'm telling you is Coach Ellis had another assistant coach taking one of my slots for employee, and we needed help, but they wouldn't hire nobody. And this is breaking news on how Clemson operates in the background.
All right, thanks very much. I'm a little bit confused about all of that. When it comes to hiring assistant coaches, I mean, that's done very publicly and done. If it's an assistant coach who sits on the bench, I mean, there's a budget for that. They have that money set aside. That's budgeted. Maybe it was somebody else in the basketball program that they needed money for and tried to eliminate a position to create money for that, for that situation. I mean, look, there's precedent. I mean, this is a very sore subject for me personally, but when Pete Yandity was booted as the play-by-play voice of the Tigers, it was done to make room for somebody else who was going to probably lose his job within the athletic department, and they kicked him out. We'll talk about that in a moment.
If you're going to kick off the playoffs, why not do it big?
Green flag is up.
Like Crown Jewel event big. Like 2 races for the price of 1 big. The NASCAR Camping World Truck Series and NASCAR Cup Series. 2 races, 1 epic Sunday. The playoffs begin at Darlington with the 72nd running of the Southern 500, September 4th through the 5th. Adult tickets start at $50, with kids starting at just $10. Get your tickets now at darlingtonraceway.com. South Carolina is just right.
Life. It has its ups and downs. Sometimes it's little things like hitting every red light or dropping your cell phone. Maybe it's the bills, rent, or pressure at work. But when it comes to the South Carolina Education Lottery, you should never feel like playing will solve everything. The lottery is a game. It's played for fun. So set a dollar amount. Expect not to win and make sure responsibilities, family, friends, and work come first. Visit playresponsiblysc.com.
I'm attorney Jim Corbett. I love sports, and I've helped people for over 30 years. Contact me at jim@jimcorbettattorney.com when the insurance company won't pay your claim or you have complicated issues. Some other business causes your business to lose money, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com. When you lose a relative and find out you got cut out of a will or don't get what was promised. When you have serious injury, like from a wreck or mishap or on the job, jim@jimcorbettattorney.com.
There are no words to describe it. The isolation, the boredom, the loneliness. If you're wondering where your teenage son or daughter's spirit went, you're hardly alone. The past year has been devastating, especially for them. But here's the good news. They might just find it again, playing high school sports. Workouts that stimulate, teammates and coaches that care. The sense of belonging so many of us have been missing lately. That's what school sports are all about. The sense of achievement is real, and the camaraderie is hard to beat. Coping with uncertainty is difficult, but school sports can help the teenagers in your family start feeling like themselves again. Encourage them to give it a try. High school sports, it's so much more than a game.
This message presented by the South Carolina High School League and the South Carolina Athletic Administrators Association.
Yeah, just to follow up on what Bruce was saying in a different story, but I mean, it was well documented by us here when it happened, and I think it's pretty well known that when Pete Yannity was forced out as the play-by-play voice of Clemson football after a dozen years or so, doing a fantastic job, it was done to make room for Don Munson, who had been working in the football office, but that position was going away, and at the behest of Dabo Swinney and others close to Dabo Swinney in there, they found a job for Don Munson. It came at the expense of Pete Yannity.
Mm-hmm.
And now they did offer, in all fairness, they did offer Pete the opportunity to stay on and do basketball, but he declined. And they brought in somebody else to do basketball for a little while, but now, Don does it all. But that's kind of how that went down. And I guess it's unfortunate that it happened, sort of like the old Rachel Nichols, what's her name, Maria Taylor. Rachel Nichols, Maria Taylor thing. She was going to get jumped over by Maria Taylor at ESPN for the finals coverage. And she's like, well, this is why they're doing it, but don't do it at my expense. She says, I understand why you want to do it, but don't take away from me. And I get her point. I mean, she paid her dues to get where she is, to become probably
limbo, and maybe Clemson brings him back, because that's exactly what happened with Rachel Nichols and Maria Taylor. She's not working for NBC.
That's right.
After all this hoopla.
She was on the way out the door anyway. She wasn't staying at ESPN.
No.
Just another reason to hate ESPN.
The whole thing was
There's
crazy.
so many reasons to despise that operation. Let's see. We got time. What we got? We got time for what we're going to do. We're going to take a call. Stephen in Columbia. We can go quickly. Got a little over a minute. Stephen, welcome into Sports Talk.
Hey, Phil.
Hey.
I just love to pile in on whenever they get a chance on Clemson. I mean, it's ridiculous. Talking about Fred Davis Jr.'s car. I'm pretty sure his dad played in the league for multiple years. So if he's driving a Dodge, he's not
Charger. Dodge Charger.
Right. I don't think he's insinuating that he was getting paid or got an illegal vehicle.
No, nobody's suggesting that. Nobody said that.
Oh, no, the caller was. The caller was like, I'd like to see whose car it was titled to or whatever. And then for people to talk about, the 1980s after he got fired and Ellis was the coach. I mean, really? So it's almost comical. And then for people to think that Clemson's got to reach out to the SEC, do you not think the SEC has probably reached out to them probably 30 or 40 times? They're the crown jewel of the Southeast other than Alabama.
Crown jewel of the Southeast. We got to hit a break. Hang on if you want to.
Point Weather is made possible by our friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union on 107 The Point.
And here's tonight's forecast. The cold front is making its way through our state overnight. We'll dip to 73 as the low with mostly cloudy skies. Tomorrow, only 78 as a high temp to go with a 70% chance of likely showers and storms. Wednesday is similar with rain likely and a high of just 79. Highs in the 80s the rest of the week. I'm Brian Leonard with your On Point local weather.
Is that crack in your windshield or your house bothering you?
Have you been meaning to have it replaced but just can't find the time?
Call Absolute Glass, voted Lexington's best glass shop for 12 years in a row.
We repair and replace glass on all makes and models.
We're the only local high-end auto glass specialist in the Midlands, and we'll come to you to make the process quick and easy.
With new technologies and vehicles, we can recalibrate your vehicle back to new.
Visit AbsoluteGlassInc.com to learn more about our auto, home, and business glass services. Just remember, if you can see through it, we can do it.
With SRN News, I'm Keith Peters in Washington. A federal appeals court has ruled that Indiana University can proceed with its plan to require students and employees to get vaccinated for COVID-19. Monday's ruling is the highest court decision regarding college immunization mandates. The Chicago-based appeals court upheld a district court judge's ruling that found that the university was acting reasonably in pursuing public health and safety for its campus communities. Both courts rejected a request by 8 IU students who sought to block the requirement while they challenged its legality, claiming it would violate their constitutional rights by forcing them to receive unwanted medical treatment. The plaintiff's lawyer says he will ask the Supreme Court to consider the case. Mixed day on Wall Street as the Dow down by 97 points, the Nasdaq rose 8, the S&P declined 8. This is SRN News.
Are you looking for free checking and free savings? Dave Ramsey here, telling you to go see my friends at Palmetto Citizens Federal Credit Union. They're not a mega bank that's so big they lose the ability to treat you like a human being. At Palmetto Citizens, you're not just a number, you're a member. Join today at any of their 14 locations or at palmettocitizens.org. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Hi, my name is Christina Freeman with Dominion Energy. Over the past year, we have all faced challenges and uncertainty. Together, we've responded with grace, respect, and hope. I'm here to tell you that our team at Dominion Energy is not letting up. We are here to help. To learn more about available utility assistance or payment plan options that fit your needs, visit DominionEnergySC.com/assistance. That's DominionEnergySC.com/assistance.
Have you walked around your own home lately? I mean, it is your most valuable financial asset. Have you spotted any cracks in the home's foundation? Now, if you have, don't panic. You call TerraTech instead. Why am I so comfy recommending TerraTech? Well, they check off all the boxes that matter to me. First, they're local. They're family-owned in the Midlands for more than 38 years. More than 10,000 homeowners, just like you and just like me, have trusted TerraTech to restore their homes. TerraTech combines their collective experience of over 150 years of professional service in the foundation repair industry, along with utilizing state-of-the-art products and solutions. TerraTech fixes foundations. They also repair or build retaining walls. They install French drains, and they offer free inspections and repair quotes. They stand by their work, and they can be trusted with protecting your home. And hey, if you don't want to take my word for it, they're also A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Find them online, TerraTechInc.com, or call TerraTech 791-8888.
Hi, honey. Could you drop by True Pharmacy on the way home and pick up another bottle of CBD for me?
Of course. I sure am glad that the CBD is helping you.
Yes. On my last visit to True Pharmacy, the pharmacist answered all my questions about CBD, got me started on a good dose, and I'm feeling much better.
I sure am glad we found True Pharmacy. Their staff is awesome, and they always take the time to care. True Pharmacy, located on Charleston Highway in West Columbia and Devine Street across from Greer High School.
Hey, it's Jay with the Melting Pot. It's time to start making plans for summer. And what better place to sit down and plan out all of your summer excursions than a 4-course meal at the Melting Pot? We start out with cheese, melted cheese, and all the dippers, then salad. Then you cook your own meal right at the table in a fondue pot or a grill. And then our glorious chocolate fondue for the 4th course. You can sit for hours and talk about all your summer excursions. The Melting Pot.
We are back on Sports Talk. Steven's still with us? All right, we'll go back to Steven, and we've got recruiting coming up. We got Around the Horn coming up. We got Marcus Satterfield. I always have to catch myself. I always want to say, of course, Marcus Lattimore. I have to catch myself. It's Marcus Satterfield, USC's offensive coordinator. So got all that coming up. But go ahead, Steven. Fire away a couple more moments. Go ahead, Steven. Yeah, hello, Steven. Steven going once and Steven going twice. Now we're going to try again here to get connected. Go ahead, sir. You're on the air again.
Yes, sir. I think you're sort of shortchanging Clemson, which is obviously nobody has a better winning record in the last 10 years than Clemson other than Alabama. And nobody can recruit nationwide like we can right now. So, I think Clemson holds the cards. I think the SEC would love to have the tradition, the rabid fans. I mean, we are an SEC school in ACC territory. And I know they've been wanting us for a long time. And I think it would be foolish for us to move. We just need to get Notre Dame on board and West Virginia, and then we're straight.
Makes sense to me. Yeah, I don't think Clemson needs to do anything.
No.
Unless they absolutely have to. Like I said before, unless the redo of college athletics results in the SEC becoming everything in college football, and everybody's got to be a member. That's the only way. But then, of course, you probably break it up into pods or regions or whatever, and you play within your region with some crossover stuff like that. But no, as far as leaving the ACC per se and going into the SEC as a member, they would be foolish. Absolutely foolish.
I think Florida
to do
State makes more sense if you're going to look at those two teams, two athletic programs. I think Florida State makes a whole lot more sense because you get away from Clemson on the football side. Not that it gets a whole lot easier for you in the SEC, but in terms of their across the board athletic department, their men's and women's basketball teams are solid. Their baseball program, much like Clemson's, I think could compete. I don't know that they'd win in the SEC, but they can certainly compete. I think Florida State of those two would be the team that probably makes, if one of them makes a move, I'd look at Florida State before I would look at Clemson.
All right, 888-898-2525. Let's go to Sam in Charleston. Sam, welcome into Sports Talk. Good to have you with us.
Might I add a comment real quick?
You may.
Well, I got to tell you, thanks for taking my calls. I'm sorry I've been really busy this past week. I work at Big and Bows in the Herbert Hazel Pool this summer.
Mm-hmm.
I do have a quick question what the Gamecocks should be in. I really do think the Gamecocks should be in the SEC. I can see the Gamecocks to be on the SEC for the rest of the year, and I can see that.
Yeah, they're not going anywhere. The Gamecocks are locked into the SEC. They're not going to kick them out. And they're not going to want to leave the way things are structured right now. So, yeah, they're going to be right there in the SEC. All right, so thank you. Appreciate your phone call. 888-898-2525. South Carolina Education Lottery. Lucky number here on Sports Talk. Let's go ahead and do the recruiting report, shall we? Did you enjoy doing the recruiting report once again in my stead, Mr. Bergen? I know
The
you
only
enjoy
thing
talking about Seawells.
I did enjoy talking about Seawells. There's no question. The only thing I would request moving forward,
Yes,
with regards to the recruiting report, since I don't follow these young men nearly as closely as you do, a phonetic spelling sometimes of their last names would be helpful, and or first names. But aside from that, I can't do it
you're
anywhere
lucky
close
you
to
get
as well as
anything
you.
from me. Holy cow! Why don't I just record it for you and send it to you?
That would actually be, if you could do that, we'll just have Pat play it. That would be even better.
Yeah.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So Seawells, one of our favorite places on earth. Have you got your game day parking for Gamecock football?
Running
You
out
might
of
want to
time.
call Seawells.
Yeah.
Might want to call them and see if they still got room. I think they do. They have a very large parking lot at their location on Rosewood Drive. Very easy walk to the stadium, right through the state fairgrounds. Nice flat. That's a great thing about Williams-Brice. No matter, well, a little bit of a hill if you're coming up Key Road, if you're coming up from that direction, but nothing like Clemson, because everywhere you walk to Death Valley, no matter what direction, it's up a hill somewhere. But anyway, Seawells, they've got spaces to sell for parking for Gamecock football. You can tailgate. You can do anything you want. Well, let's just say that's not obscene. 803-771-7385 or email them at seawellscatering@gmail.com. And, of course, don't forget the luncheon buffet tomorrow. I'm going to try and hit it up sometime this week. Luncheon buffet every day, 11 to 2. It's excellent. And, of course, the very best in the catering business for more than 70 years. That's the Seawells family and staff. 803-771-7385 is their number. So I know right after you went off the air on Friday night, Clemson got a commitment. I know that broke your heart that you couldn't talk about it. Linebacker Jaron Kanak, or maybe it's Kanak. I did not do a good job of learning the last name here. Jaron Kanak, 6'2", 210, Hayes, Kansas, announced a commitment to Clemson Friday night. This kid can run at 6'2", 210. He's run a 10.3, 100 meters, and that was electronically timed, laser timed. He reminds them of Isaiah Simmons, who also is from Kansas. He came to Clemson for a camp in early June, performed in front of Brent Venables and Dabo Swinney, and was offered. Clemson immediately became a major factor. He was also considering Nebraska, Georgia, Oklahoma, Florida, Michigan, and Alabama. So he joins Clemson. Their class continues to move up as high as number 8 nationally at this point in time. Every one of their commits is at least a 4-star, with the exception of the kicker. The poor kicker. That has to be said every time that stat's given, except for the kicker, Robert Gunn, who's, I think, a 3-star or something. But all the others are 4-star or 5-star. The kid from Malden's a 5-star. Linebacker Deuce Spurlock, 6'2", 200 of Madison, Alabama, has had a top 5 of Mississippi State, Michigan, Pitt, Liberty, and Appalachian State. But Sunday was offered by USC. He now has the Gamecocks in the mix. He's never been there. Never met the coaches in person. Defensive coordinator Clayton White saw enough of him on film to make the offer. They love how athletic he is. He's also a receiver. They love how he runs. And so they offered him, and they've got a chance with him now. And he likes South Carolina, likes what he knows about them, knows that they developed J.C. Horn, for example, and he's looking for that kind of place. He was at Clemson on Thursday. He also camped at Clemson in June, and they're evaluating him, but they haven't offered, and they want to see what he looks like this season. But he might have a decision before the season, like in the next 2 to 4 weeks. He took an official visit to Pitt in June, also made unofficials to Boston College, Michigan, and Arkansas State. 3-star, 24/7 Sports Composite, ranked 102nd among athletes nationally. USC missed yesterday on a pair. Defensive tackle DeAndre Martin of Durham, North Carolina, committed to Virginia Tech. He was at the cookout over the weekend at USC. And Sumter defensive tackle Davin Jackson announced for NC State. He also had USC, Coastal, and Appalachian on his short list. This afternoon, this is basketball, 6'8" Julian Phillips of Blythewood named his top 10 schools, and Clemson made the list. He took an official visit to Clemson earlier this summer. Clemson made the list. South Carolina did not. for a kid right there in the backyard from Blythewood. Alabama, Kansas. Yeah, I think that's LSU. It's a Tiger Head. Yeah, it's LSU. I'm sorry. Florida State, Tennessee, UCLA, Florida, Virginia, and Southern Cal. So some stiff competition there for the Tigers in trying to get him, but at least they're on the board and still alive. USC's in the top 4 with 2023 tight end Ty Lockwood, 6'5", 220 of Nashville. His others are Florida State, Ohio State, and Penn State. He went to Florida State last week. He was at USC June 4th and Clemson the next day. He also visited Michigan and Ohio State. He's a 4-star. Among the prospects who confirmed with social media posts being at the USC Cookout Saturday, in the 23 class, linebacker Troy Ford Jr. Savannah, linebacker Grayson Howard Jacksonville, defensive end Xavier McLeod Camden, running back Ike Daniels Stafford, Virginia, 24 class, offensive tackle Cam Pringle Woodland, and defensive lineman Heaven Brown Schuler Atlanta. USC target linebacker Abdul Carter committed to Penn State. 2023 receiver Braylon James of DeVal, Texas, was at Clemson Friday, Georgia Saturday, 4-star, number 23 receiver in the class. He also has an offer from the Gamecocks as well. 2023 corner A.J. Harris of Phoenix City, Alabama, was at Clemson over the weekend. 2023 offensive tackle Monroe Freeling of Oceanside Collegiate was at Georgia last week. 2 of Clemson's top targets were at North Carolina Saturday for their cookout. Defensive tackle Travis Shaw and receiver Andre Green Jr. Also, tight end defensive end Benji Gosnell, former Ohio State commitment who was at Clemson earlier in the week. He too was at North Carolina Saturday. Clemson target 2023 running back Richard Young was at Florida Friday. Lawrence receiver Jaden McGowan was offered by Vanderbilt. There you go with our recruiting report for tonight, brought to you by Seawells. And after we come back from the break, get you around the horn with Mr. Bergen, and then some comments from USC offensive coordinator Marcus Satterfield as he goes into detail about his offense. I like what he had to say. I think his offensive game plan makes a lot of sense. And if Luke Doty is what he says Luke Doty has become, look out. This Gamecock offense could be on fire. On fire. Again, somebody else on fire here in 2021. That's coming up next on Sports Talk.
Your home is where your memories live. It's where you laugh and where you love. We understand the importance of the valuables under your roof, tangible and intangible alike. So no matter what's around the corner, we'll be there, offering you and your family the support that's made Farm Bureau Insurance a trusted name for nearly 70 years. You deserve more. You deserve a promise. Learn more at scfbins.com.
Call Buddy Bridges in Lawrence County at 864-923-2174, covering Lawrence, Clinton, Joanna, and the shores of Lake Greenwood.
Hi, this is Phil Kornblut of Sports Talk here with Major Billy Downer of the Department of Natural Resources. What words of wisdom do you have for those hitting the water this summer?
Phil, collisions can be prevented easily if every vessel operator fulfills 3 major responsibilities. 1, practice good seamanship. It's the responsibility of every boat or PWC operator to take all necessary action to avoid a collision. 2, keep a proper lookout. Failing to keep a sharp lookout is the most common cause of boating collisions. And finally, maintain a safe speed. Remember, boat safe, boat smart.
There are many things to like about the Carolinas, and one of those is Founders Federal Credit Union Founders Online, the Founders app. And using your Founders cards and digital wallets are just some of the perks you'll have at your fingertips. And with over 30 locations, we're always close. Visit RelaxJoinFounders.com or visit one of our office locations to see if you qualify for membership with Founders. Relax with Founders. Services require credit evaluation. Terms and conditions apply. Founders Federal Credit Union is federally insured by NCUA.
I'm not like some whoop-de-doo executive chef. You know, I consider myself more of a baker than a chef. I like working with my hands. I like turning regular ingredients into like something spectacular.
The South Carolina Education Lottery has funded over 450,000 life scholarships in our state, giving countless students a chance to answer their calling, just like Aaron. Your passion is our purpose.
All right, let's go around the horn with Chris Bergen.
And presented by Farm Bureau Insurance every night here on Sports Talk. Buddy Bridges up in Lawrence. As a matter of fact, don't call Buddy. He's on vacation. He'll be back later in the week. But when he does return to his office in Lawrence County, 864-923-2174. And Alex Satterfield, who we turned into a celebrity on Friday, had a real good time chatting with Alex in Columbia, 803-749-9171. Now, as we get into Around the Horn, let me give you the disclosure here. If you're waiting to find out the results of the USA men's baseball team against Japan tonight, tune away, because I've got a spoiler alert for you. We lost. 4 of 7 U.S. relievers get to 4 of 7 combined to give up 5 runs as the United States, much like the Yankees bullpen, Phil, blew a 3-run lead in a 7-6 loss to Japan, I guess last night in Tokyo, Monday night, that pushed the Americans within a loss of Olympic elimination. As a matter of fact, under tournament rules, as this game went into extra innings, they start with runners on first and seconds, which is much worse than what Major League Baseball has done with the runner on second rule since the start of the pandemic. Meantime, the United States now is in a situation where they fall into the losers bracket of the double elimination second round to reach this weekend's final. U.S. men's baseball must prevail tomorrow when the United States plays the winner of Tuesday's elimination game between the Dominican Republic and Israel, and then again Thursday against the Japan-South Korea loser. Japan, by the way, will play South Korea, as I pointed out, on Wednesday night for a spot in the final. This was a fascinating thing to watch over the weekend. The New York Mets did not sign right-hander Kumar Rocker out of Vanderbilt, the 10th overall pick in the amateur draft before yesterday afternoon's 5 p.m. signing deadline. Mets GM Zach Scott said, quote, "This is clearly not the outcome we had hoped for and wish Kumar nothing but success moving forward. We're excited about the players we have signed and look forward to watching them develop and contribute to the organization in years to come." Rocker, whose dominance at Vanderbilt made him the most well-known college player in perhaps a decade, had an agreement in place to sign for $6 million after he slipped down the draft boards earlier this month. But the deal fell apart following his physical examination as the Mets expressed concern over the health of Rocker's arm. Sources said Rocker's agent, Scott Boras, said in a statement that the client, of course, is healthy. Kumar Rocker is healthy according to independent medical review by multiple prominent baseball orthopedic surgeons. The Mets actually will receive the 11th pick in the 2022 draft as compensation for not signing Rocker. Rocker, who pitched 122 innings and 20 starts, is eligible for the 2022 draft after pitching at Vanderbilt, of course, and leading them to the College World Series. No indications as to what he'll do, but Phil, that's a fascinating story to watch over the weekend.
Indeed.
I had no idea that Kumar Rocker had arm issues, but evidently that was the case. And congratulations over at This Way, the Florence Post-1 American Legion baseball team scoring 5 runs in the bottom of the 6th yesterday to get past Fort Mill 10-6 for the program's first state championship since 2017 and also the 5th state Legion title since 2012. The Gamecock fans who maybe aren't quite as familiar with Florence Post-1, they are coached by former Gamecock standout Derek Urquhart, who handles that team. They'll be moving on to the American Legion Southeast Regional Tournament. I believe that takes place in Alabama. And Phil, I had to just bring this up as we wrap up Around the Horn just for fun. We talked with Alex Satterfield on Friday about Summer League Baseball, the Coastal Plain League, which is a wooden bat league, and has several teams around the area, including the Lexington County Blowfish, the brand new Spartanburgers up in the upstate, and here in the PD, the Florence Red Wolves. Well, they changed their name, announcing over the weekend that the Florence Red Wolves will, currently under new ownership, will become the Florence Flamingos. And they will wear neon pink jerseys. It is a fascinating look by the ownership group that has taken over that also owns the Macon Bacon. So now we have the Florence Flamingos for Summer League Baseball here in our states. And that's Around the Horn, presented by Farm Bureau Insurance.
All right, sounds good. Real quick, should have mentioned this in recruiting. A couple of baseball commitments, one for South Carolina and one for Clemson from today. The Gamecocks picked up 2023 right-hander Tyler Pitzer out of Pennsylvania, and committing to Clemson was right-hander Nathan Dvorsky, who's from Sewanee, Georgia. All right. We'll hold Marcus Satterfield over. I hate to squeeze him in. Maybe we'll get into that tomorrow. Yeah, what you got, Pat?
You mentioned Kumar Rocker there, Chris. There actually has been more developments on that this afternoon. He will not be returning to Vanderbilt. He officially announced that. This is per John Heyman of MLB Network. Rocker will not return to Vanderbilt and instead will spend the year strengthening and conditioning to prep for the 2022 draft. He may consider other options, following the footsteps of number 8 high school prospect last year who went unsigned after medical, who got $6 million to play in Japan on a one-year deal before then re-pursuing the Major League Baseball draft. So now Rocker, under his advisor, Scott Boras, is going to at the very least spend the year strength and conditioning for next year's draft, but may look into playing overseas, most likely in Japan.
Now, my question about this whole scenario, and I don't know the minutia behind draft picks, but why wouldn't the Mets, because they said he's eligible to go back into the draft, why would the Mets not still have his draft rights going into next year?
Because under baseball rules, if you don't sign them by the deadline, you lose. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's kind of a new rule. I thought in the past you held those rights for a year, but I think the rule was rewritten and
the new CBA rule, it is in the new one. And now teams get a similar replacement, a compensatory pick. So they will now, the Mets will receive a number 11 overall compensatory pick in the 2022 draft. Whereas if they had signed him and then they did find out he needed Tommy John, God forbid, or any other kind of surgery, they would not be receiving that pick. But by not signing him and letting him go away, it hurts the player. The player does not get anything. They're now without a job and he's not going to go back to Vanderbilt. But the Mets now get a number 11 overall pick instead.
Hey, if you're interested in this, go to the Carolina Panthers website. They've got an interview with J.C. Horn from today. He had a real good day in camp. Apparently, he's having a great camp, making his quarterback look kind of foolish thus far. That's at least, with 2 picks today and 1 the other day, that's at least 3 picks for him. And consider he only had 3 picks his entire career at South Carolina. And they all came in the Auburn game, right? If I'm not mistaken, I think he only had 3 picks his entire career. All in the Auburn game. Yeah, I mean, nobody's going to throw his way. Here's a note. Limestone has named former Furman baseball coach Brett Harker as their new baseball coach.
Wow, good for him.
Good for him. You know, it's a shame that Furman has not gone back and reinstated baseball. What are they waiting on up at Furman? Get it done. You got a huge endowment. Didn't we have a story about their huge endowment not too long ago, or all this money they had? They just extended the contract of their soccer coach. Not to say they should take anything away from him for baseball purposes, but come on. Get baseball going again up at Furman. All right.
A state where, in a state, especially like ours, Phil, where college baseball means so much, there's just no reason that Furman should not field a program, especially one that has some tradition as theirs does.
Looking here at a couple of other baseball notes, Clemson got a commitment from right-handed pitcher Luke Brown, 6'7", 170, out of Apex, North Carolina. He tweeted that out today. And there's something else here I want to mention, if we've got time. Yes, we've got time. If I can put my eyes on it here. Let's see what this is. Something else for Clemson in a commitment form. 2024 second baseman outfielder. I want to be careful here. I want to be careful. Yeah. All right. 2024 second baseman outfielder Dion Brown from York, Clover High School, committed to Clemson tonight. He is the son of Gamecock fans. That's all right. What goes around comes around. You enjoyed having Billy Wingo's son. He's the son of Sheldon Brown, former Gamecock great, who was also a very good baseball player too.
Yes, he was.
So Dion Brown. So, you know, the Gamecocks had Wingo, the son of the Clemson great, who turned out to be a great baseball player for the Gamecocks. And now Clemson's going to turn it around and get a former Gamecock, get the son of a former Gamecock football star. But Sheldon was also a very good baseball player. In fact, I think he played a little baseball at South Carolina during his time there.
Well, I totally understand that. I'm not sure I'd want to go to the same school where my father starred. I'd like to be able to go out and maybe cut my own legacy. So I get Gamecock fans are upset that maybe he didn't sign to go play where his dad did, but I totally understand it from a kid's perspective.
Sure. Sometimes you want to cut your own path,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. All right. Well, that will do it. We'll get to the Marcus Satterfield tomorrow, hopefully before we get some fresh stuff from him later in the week. And Kerry Tharp will visit us. We go back racing this weekend. I've missed NASCAR.
Thank goodness.
Last couple of
Thank
weeks.
goodness.
So we'll have KT with us and everything else that has developed. We'll have it for you tomorrow night. Have a great night. Thank you for being with us. We'll see you tomorrow.
Someone will be right with you.